One would be happy that because we have not been able to hear from Mr. Khumalo in the Madlanga Commission, particularly because of his health, one would be so excited to hear from him now recently because he's back. We saw him today, but we did not see him in a way that we expected. Let me tell you that drama happened today in court. Not at the Madlanga one though, the other one, okay? Let's talk about it. Allegedly. 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 My people, my people, my people. Welcome back to Allegedly. I'm so happy to have you here. So we are going to be talking about South Africa's crime intelligence boss. Yes, that man. That is Major-General Khumalo. And we are just going to take a look at how his courtroom drama today just turned into a very wild mix of corruption claims, of surprise courtroom stunts, and deep cracks in the justice system itself, my people. Let's start from the top. We need to understand what actually happened. So, General Khumalo is not just any police officer. This is important. He leads the Crime Intelligence Division of South Africa. The SAPS crime intelligence is under him. He is the boss of that. And basically he's the one that deals with the most secretive and the most sensitive investigations that must be had in South Africa. So think about it like this. This is basically a division that is supposed to track criminal networks, right? But there are certain ways that they do it that we can't because we don't have the ability to do so. So they uncover organized crimes, they help protect us South Africans, and to make sure we do not have any form of internal and external threats that become a reality or that actually happen. But what is he accused of? That is what we must talk about today because it's a lot. So Khumalo, together with other several co-accused, his workers or his employees, were actually arrested this year, and they were arrested in June of 2025, and they were arrested under very serious charges. And one of the charges was corruption, the other was fraud, and the last was irregular appointments inside crime intelligence. But at this point, in simple terms, my people, they are accused of using their power that no one else in South Africa actually has because they deal with sensitive information, and therefore they can do a whole lot more and they can access a lot more, which makes them slightly dangerous. They help, but if they're using it to their disadvantage, obviously it's going to be bad. So they were using their power to give jobs and basically favors to other people. That those are the allegations. And one of the key names that were mentioned is the young lady called Dineo Mokwele. And her appointment inside the unit is said to have been handled quite inappropriately. And it's very interesting how we have heard the story of Mkhwanazi with regards to this particular situation, together with what the entire investigation on the other side actually does say.
Who, as a rogue section of IDEC, is the one that effected an arrest on Khumalo. IDEC has got good men and women that are working there, under the very same leader, Advocate Johnson, who are responsible for cases that are serious, that emanate from the state capture, amongst others. If IDEC is honest, if Advocate Johnson is honest, he's going to come here before this committee and take an oath and confirm what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is not a lie. I'll prove it. I want to invite these members to get a profile of the arresting officer of General Khumalo and the team, Mr. Padayache. Get his profile. You're going to know that Padayache is an ex-crime intelligence member who has never touched a case docket in his life. But IDEC employed him as the senior investigator responsible for the arrest of Khumalo. He's the one who's a boss in that case. This is a person who's now employed to work in an entity of government that is charged with the responsibility in terms of the Amendment Act of the NPA, that they must deal with serious and complex cases.
So because of how serious these charges are, okay, the group was actually granted bail, but the bail amount was 10,000 Rand for each of them. One of the greatest issues that we are dealing with now is the fact that they were told that they are not allowed to go back to work. They were told to stay away from certain duties while this case basically continues. And unfortunately, the case can take a very long time. It can take 5 years, 10 years, however long. So they can't continue their duties. They can't go to work. They can't have access to certain things that they should have access to in order for them to do the work they're supposed to do. And that's a problem for them. So now we have the latest court drama, okay? And what is that? Today, my people, Khumalo and his co-accused literally walk back into court, okay? This time, my people, they are asking for the bail conditions that we spoke about to be relaxed. Like, please, just feel for us. We have a duty to carry, therefore please just relax these conditions in order for us to be able to go back to work and work properly. So now they are basically saying, well, we still hold very senior positions and we need to be allowed to basically perform some of our SAPS duties. Although they are allowed to perform some of them, I'm assuming the bail conditions are just too much. They need to get more in a way. But today the magistrate wasn't ready. He says he was not ready to make that decision yet, and that's just because there was a previous magistrate that recused himself because of the allegations. So instead, this particular case has now been postponed to the 6th of November, okay? That is normal in a complicated corruption case. It's a normal thing. People usually postpone for different reasons, particularly concerning maybe procedures, applications that are not done perfectly, and many other things. The lawyers obviously would keep filing new papers, and the court actually moves carefully because one wrong step, my people, comes back to them. The one wrong step could allow the accused to actually claim unfair treatment later. So they try by all means to rather postpone instead of making decisions that are not called for, basically, or that are not well informed. So far, my people, I think it was normal. It was going well until a very familiar and a very controversial human being came in. This face decided to hijack the hearing, my people. We are talking about none other than Mr. Malesela Teffo. And wow, I need to make sure that if the name that I'm talking about rings a bell, it should, because he is the former advocate who actually gained a lot of national attention during the Senzo case, and he was later disbarred. That's the reason why he's very famous. What that means in actual fact is that he is no longer allowed to practice law, or to practice law in a rightful manner, just as he was an advocate. So now you must picture this story. During Khumalo's hearing, Teffo then suddenly stands up in court and decides, this is the time for me to announce what I want to announce. So he announces that he wanted to be they call it an Amicus Curiae. What it means is, it's a Latin word for friend of the court.
Yes, my name is Malesela Teffo. What brought me here, Your Worship, is that I want to bring the application for Amicus Curiae to get a friend of court. Let me say simple terms, not the matter of laughing. If you're the friend of court in this matter, the reason is that I'm informed that the accused they are here to apply for the realization of their bail conditions. So as a result of that, thirdly, I'm also the accused. Another matter whereby your brother is Curiae, acting chief Madlanga. My matter is on the 22nd of October next week, Tuesday. So the reason for me being here and bringing this application is on the basis of the fact that the applicants are very dangerous people.
And normally a friend of the court, my people, helps by basically giving some form of neutral information, or at times giving expert information with regards to the particular case that they're dealing with. And this is something, the information must be something that might help the judge understand the bigger picture of what's basically going on. But Teffo's approach, my people, was anything but neutral. He was there, guns blazing, saying, these men are corrupt. Yes, he, in actual fact, accused Khumalo and his team of being very dangerous people. That is a very huge allegation, if true. He also claimed that while he was in jail, because he was in jail, they were the ones that monitored his phone calls and were somehow involved in his imprisonment, which makes sense because just like I said initially in the beginning of the video, these people deal with a lot of gadgets and they can maneuver a lot of things because that is what they do in crime intelligence. So the courtroom in actual fact reportedly went quiet for a moment because everyone is like, what is going on? Because that is not how things are usually done in court. You know, they were expecting him to maybe bring an application or just tell us before you come in and barge in and want to speak, and I would call that some form of legal chaos. I don't know about you, but Khumalo's lawyers literally immediately objected.
In this matter, he appointed Brigadier Moyano.
Objection, Your Honor. And the purpose is, Your Worship, with due respect to my learned friends, there is no application, substantive application that has been brought before this court on papers for the request for my learned friend to be accepted as a friend of this court and to be able to stand before this court and be able to address this honorable court regarding the issues implicating my clients before this court.
They told the magistrate that Teffo is out of line. This is not how it's supposed to be done, and therefore it is unfair, judge, for you to listen to him. And they told the magistrate that he had not filed a written application to appear in the case. Do you understand? So it's unfair for the judge to listen to him, which makes sense, but that's a lot for a day. I must also mention the fact that Khumalo's lawyer is actually Mshololo, who we know very well from the Senzomiwe case, which is quite an interesting factor to consider today.
Therefore, it is my submission, Your Worship, that the clients are suffering prejudice from day one in August, when they firstly approached this honorable court for their application to have the bail condition that is preventing them to go back to work and be able to execute the duties in terms of the SAPS that are empowered on them. There has been an unreasonable delay up until today. Therefore, it is my submission, Your Worship, that the applicants are suffering prejudice because they are unable to go to work. And if I may put it to the attention of this court, that the issue of bail condition is a matter of agents.
But in obvious fact, they were going to disagree with how this happened or how Teffo actually administered his interest or desire to be a friend of the court, particularly because of the outburst and how everyone is talking about it being very unprocedural for him to do it the way he did. And the magistrate, in actual fact, my people agreed. When the agreement was made, he also reminded Teffo that if he wants to actually be involved, not necessarily to say, yes, we're going to give you acceptance to be the friend of the court or whatever, but if you want to be involved because you're an advocate or you know how these things work, it can't just be dramatic. So kindly submit a formal written request first, like everyone else, instead of you barging in and doing it in the manner and fashion that you did it in, which is a challenge because that's how we know him to be, very robust. But that does not mean people are supposed to just be rogue, you know. So in other words, what he was saying is follow the rules or stay out of it. If you don't want to follow the rules, you will not be part of my magistrate court. Basically, you will not be a friend of this case. Yeah. So what it really showed is how messy and very emotional these high-profile cases actually can be, particularly because we are dealing with emotional people and Teffo as well. But everyone seems to have their own history. Everyone seems to have their own grudges, and they have a lot of personal scores to set, like there's a vendetta in a way, all playing out in public, and it's playing out in a very interesting manner, which makes us get to a point of being slightly worried, because as South Africans, we do not want to find ourselves in a position where we're not being able to be protected, because the people who are supposed to protect us are the ones that are going haywire. But why does this matter? Why does this story matter, and why are we talking about it? This isn't just, it's not some form of courtroom drama or gossip that we must talk about. It is a highlighting of a much bigger issue inside South Africa, particularly the police leadership, which in actual fact, Shadrack Sibiya spoke about yesterday when he was in the ad hoc committee, when he was asked, do you think the leadership, the SAPS leadership, it's divided? And he actually did say yes in different ways. But right now, my people believe that crime intelligence, which should be the cleanest, in actual fact, to be honest, it should be the cleanest and most disciplined part of SAPS, has been deeply affected and infiltrated by a lot of internal politics, a lot of favoritism, and a lot of corruption that we obviously may not be able to see because everything is just secret. And when you have a top boss or a top general that is in court asking to go back to work, and at the same time is still facing these kinds of charges, it does raise some form of serious questions and concerns. Yes, we may have heard Mkhwanazi say this man is good, is amazing, he does not do anything wrong, but at the same time, it's a challenge now because what's going on. So how much power do these accused officers still have? Clearly, they may have a lot because we were told they're working from home, and when they go there for bail, the bail is to reduce the conditions, not that others were not reduced, but to further reduce them. So let's ask ourselves, are they influencing investigations behind the scenes? What do we know about these people? Why are they in this particular situation? And this is me trying to be very impartial, okay? And can ordinary citizens, in actual fact, really trust that justice will be served in this particular case? Because there is a Madlanga connection to this, and that is how we have known about this particular case in actual fact. Maybe not just the case, but the people as well, particularly when it comes to Khumalo. So it actually gets even more complicated that we have this Madlanga complexity here, because the previous magistrate, like I said, that was handling this particular case actually is said to have recused himself. And he recused himself because of the Madlanga Commission, or what is said to be links that have happened. He has stepped aside and said, you know what, let me deal with the Madlanga Commission situation, so I do not infiltrate this particular proceeding. But this is where we are. When a judge has stepped aside or stepped away from a case because of potential conflicts that are connected to the same commission, right? It makes people wonder how deep the problem goes. Is it judicial infiltration? How deep does this particular judicial infiltration actually go? It's in actual fact like peeling an onion, you know, layer after layer of connections, layer after layer of allegations, and layer after layer of backroom dealings becomes a very huge thing that was potentially initially not said to have been as big as it currently is today. But we find ourselves in this situation because of the Madlanga. So when you step back, this case actually shows that there is something bigger than just Teffo and Khumalo, and it shows a lot of systemic dysfunctions in actual fact. Let me just put it like that. But what I wanted to say is it's quite messy, it's quite chaotic, and it tells us that the lines between law enforcement, politics, and personal revenge or personal vendettas is quite thin. We see how it just has become very dangerously blurred.
Matter then remanded 6 November 2025, Court 16 for outcome of the review application, be in court 8:30.
What happens next, like I said, is the court date is on the 6th of November, which we'll be watching, and that's when we will basically see whether the court relaxes Khumalo's bail conditions or it tightens them even more in actual fact. So that will be very interesting to watch. But given everything that is happening, particularly from Teffo's unexpected stunt to the previous magistrate recusing themselves, you can bet that the spotlight will definitely be right back here into this corruption case and how things have gotten to become what they are today. I would love to hear what you have to say about this particular case. What do you think about all these dynamics, about all these disbarred lawyers coming with personal grudges as well, but also maybe coming in with a heart that wants to serve and assist the people of South Africa, because there's something they know that we don't know, particularly because of how we have been seeing things unfolding. The man has been saying a lot of things that we thought were impossible at some point, or we actually even thought they were far-reaching. That turned to be true because of what we've heard in the ad hoc committee, particularly yesterday when we were with Shadrack Sibiya. So I would love to hear what you think about it, and I would love to hear how you view this particular situation and what you think is going to happen for South Africans in future, particularly when it comes to the justice system together with the police system. I hope you enjoyed this video, and from me to you, it's bye for now.
Allegedly, 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 my people, my people, my people.
Well, I don't know whether it's a serious and complex case to arrest people for having sat in a panel like you are sitting here, and you make recommendations to the higher structure that is going to appoint. You facilitate this process at a committee, you are taking it to Parliament. The Parliament will take it further. In the police, a committee that is arrested, it's a committee that Khumalo is part of. One of the charges is that Khumalo manipulated by forming the committee himself. It is before the court, honorable chair members, that Khumalo did not even recommend that panel. It is Jara Madondo who signed a letter to the National Commissioner to recommend a panel where Khumalo was included as a member of the panel.
So General Mkhwanazi, you are aware, because I put it to you, but you're clearly now aware that that is at least the reason given why he was arrested. It's this whole appointment.
That's exactly
process. No, that's the reason that they give. Because I put it to you that Advocate Johnson had told me it had nothing to do with the political killing stars team.
If I were to have an opportunity to sit where you are sitting, SC, and Advocate Johnson is sitting here, I'm given an opportunity to cross-question her. I'll prove it to this house that what she told you, if she did say that, it's a lie. The Khumalo's arrest is a project. It's a project to counter the criminal investigation in Gauteng. This letter of the minister at the close of the task team, it's a project that is aimed at stopping the criminal investigation in Gauteng. So, why I'm demonstrating this to you is that here is a group of members from crime intelligence that are arrested for having sat in the panel. The portfolio committee chair and the members in the portfolio committee will tell you what is the process in the SAPS in terms of filling of vacancies. So you ask yourself whether did these ones do something different to the process? The process, if I were to tell the members that the head of HR in the police, on behalf of the National Commissioner, they will send you a letter. They will say, this post has been advertised. Make recommendation of the panel members that must be in the panel. You submit as an accounting officer the recommendations to the head office HR. Head office HR decide whether your submission and your recommendation they're in agreement with or not. It is that office that approves the panel, not the line function manager. I'm a provincial commissioner. I don't approve a single panel of such levels of brigadiers. I deal with the ones junior. But allow me to explain, SC and honorable members, that the process is established in the organization. So Khumalo and the team, it's a panel that is appointed by the National Commissioner of the Police. If Khumalo did wrong and the team did wrong in the panel, their recommendations goes to another moderating committee at the national office, at the National Commissioner's office. They are lieutenant generals that sits there, including head of legal service. They moderate the work that the junior committee will have done, and they agree with it. So if they agree with it, then they give it to the National Commissioner, he appoints. So if IDEC arrests, they're supposed to have arrested all this chain. But because they're not interested with the others, they're interested with these ones. It was a quick win to get to them. IDEC, honorable chair members, arrested the members of crime intelligence literally in the same month. I don't know how many weeks apart. The very same IDEC had a case of over 90 million rand of ESCOM, if I'm not mistaken. One of the members that are charged is a member of parliament in that case, Mr. Mlev. IDEC summoned the people that they wanted to arrest. to appear at the police station in the morning. They arrived at the police station in front of cameras wearing suits. They went to the police station. They made them to be charged, gave their fingers. From there, they drove to court. They appeared before the magistrate. The court granted them bail. They paid their bail. The same evening, they were at home with their families for 90 million rand. The same institution I did. How is it possible that they are going to wait for Khumalo at the airport for having been part of the panel to appoint someone who's going to earn a salary of R1 million per year? But they wait for that person at the airport and arrest that person. So what Advocate Johnson will come and explain, justify the two that happened under her watch. I will argue that the ones that were charging Brian Leaf and them, honorable members there, they were respecting them, despite the seriousness of the charge of 90 million rand. But the one of Khumalo, they were not respecting them because the project was not this promotion of this girl. The project is stopping that operation in Gauteng.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Oh, allegedly. My people, my people, my people.